Hey everybody, Sin Mal here. So this is JFK, the conspiracy theory. Now, I want you to please stick along and watch the whole video. I know, it's almost 10 minutes long. But, listen to the first interview. There is still one shot unaccounted for, but still no doubts in his mind that it was Lee Harvey Oswald. America, this is the truth. And the truth will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. Sin Mal here. Stick along.
The father and son used the latest technology to re-examine the idea that one bullet hit Kennedy and Texas Governor John Connally. Luke and Michael Haig are featured on the PBS series Nova in a documentary titled Cold Case JFK.
The single bullet theory is all about what it does after it emerges from Kennedy's neck. Does it remain intact? Is it deflected? What happens to its velocity?
Luke and Michael Haig join us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow. So, Luke, what did you learn?
Well, it's easily demonstrable that one bullet can go through two people if you understand how this particular unusual bullet behaves and what it does after it leaves Kennedy's body.
What kind of bullet and how does it behave?
Well, here's the bullet, or an example of the bullet. This is a 6.5 millimeter Carcano bullet made by Olin Winchester. It's extremely stable, which is what people didn't understand then, they don't understand now. So it will go through a lot of material, and then when it comes out, it starts tumbling or going into yaw, and that's how it hit Governor Connally, in yaw.
Explain
and this
the
is
yaw.
important.
That's the...
Yaw is like a badly thrown football. A bullet normally flies true and straight. When this bullet emerged from Kennedy or any ballistic medium, such as you saw a moment ago, it's now yawing and tumbling. And the entry wound in Connally is very important because it's the consequence of a yawed bullet. So it had to be a destabilized bullet from somewhere.
So you do believe, Mike, that it was just one bullet?
As far as the neck wound to the president and then the wounds to Governor Connally, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Did you have any doubts about anything from your investigation?
Well, I think that in any shooting incident, you're never going to have the physical evidence that provides you with a complete 100% picture. We still have one shot that's basically unaccounted for. But for the most part, when you lay this physical evidence out on the table, it is a very clear picture.
Does Oswald have to have been a very good marksman to have accomplished this?
Not at all. I've shot this drill, these distances with a firearm that my dad acquired that is exactly the same as Oswald's rifle with ammunition of this type. These are not really tough shots.
Yeah, and you said anybody who thinks that you have to be a marksman hasn't fired this kind of gun before. This Carcano was a very cheap rifle. It was only less than $13, and the scope on it was $7 plus. That many people could have had access to and used.
Well, a lot of people back then collected old military rifles. This rifle's been disparaged as being dangerous, inaccurate. It's not. If the bore in the rifle is good, it's a good shooter, and it was a good shooter, unfortunately for President Kennedy.
One more time, what did 3D technology do that made your analysis different?
Mike's answer on that one.
Same thing, right?
The 3D laser scanner that was used is something that's really coming into play in forensics now. Since about 2005, 2006, this is a new tool that a lot of law enforcement agencies are bringing into play. And it's a way of documenting crime scenes more thoroughly, more completely than we ever had the capability to do. So we walk away from the crime scene with more information, and we can then examine the crime scene over and over again later on a computer. So as we get new hypotheses, things, people talking about where a shooter might have been in a new revelatory type place, well, we can just go into that software, take some calculations, take measurements, angles, it's all right there.
Yeah, you guys were able to recreate it within 1/8 of an inch, which I thought was astounding. But you said something very interesting, quoting Sherlock Holmes. You rule out the impossible, and that which remains, no matter how seemingly improbable, is the truth. Elaborate on that, Luke.
Well, it's the basis of what's called the scientific method. If you're a scientist, a forensic scientist, you try to rule out hypotheses, not go into it with an idea, I want to prove something.
So you were ruling out what in this case? As it applies to this case?
The usual, the most common conspiracy hypothesis, shots from the grassy knoll, two shooters. If a thoughtful person is willing to look at the physical evidence, that's step one, and understand what that evidence is and what it's telling us, then you'll come to the correct conclusion. Physical evidence always supports the truth of the matter.
That may be the answer to the question I wanted to ask you. Why is there so much skepticism? Or is the skepticism among few but loud?
Yeah.
Shall I take it?
Go for it.
Yeah, take it
I
down.
really think it's in our nature. We want to think there's more to it than just a loner, loser, deranged Marxist who hated his country and took an opportunity. There's got to be more to it than that. Bugliosi has a wonderful statement. A peasant cannot strike down the king. Think about it. A nobody did.
And change the world, change
Absolutely.
the course of history.
Well, thank you.
Luke and Michael Haig. The name of the show is called Cold Case. JFK premieres Wednesday on PBS's Nova.
Lee Harvey Oswald was your typical America-hating communist from Louisiana, and like every risky-living pinko from the South, he grew up watching American spy dramas, volunteered for a civilian air patrol run by a CIA contract agent, and joined the US Marines. Nicknamed Oswaldsky for his tendency to speak Russian and spout pro-Soviet propaganda, he was given special training and assigned to one of the most sensitive facilities in the world, running the radar for the U-2s spying on the Ruskies and the Chi-Coms. After contracting gonorrhea in the line of duty, Oswald was tested for Russian proficiency before being honorably discharged to take care of his mother who wasn't ill and flew to Europe using money he didn't have on planes that didn't exist to arrive at Helsinki, where he stayed at the most luxurious hotel in town before waltzing into the Soviet Union at the height of the Cold War. While there, he kept a detailed log of Soviet facilities, made notes about microdots, and carried a CIA standard-issue Minox camera before getting bored and returning to the United States on a military jet using money loaned to him from the US Embassy. After waltzing back into the United States after supposedly defecting to the enemy at the height of the Cold War, he settled back in New Orleans where he appeared in radio and TV interviews, got into fistfights on the street, and handed out leaflets from a pro-Castro Cuban group sharing office space with an ex-FBI agent involved in government-sponsored anti-Castro Cuban groups. Moving to Texas and befriending a millionaire Russian oilman who helped to get him a job at the Texas Schoolbook Depository, Oswald made sure to let his murderous intent be known by attempting to assassinate a right-wing general in the area, thus potentially jeopardizing any plot to kill the president, and sent vanity photos of himself posing with his rifle to his close friends. On the morning of November 22, 1963, Lee Harvey Oswald went to work in the Schoolbook Depository where the president just happened to be driving by. After somehow getting the Secret Service to stand down before entering Dealey Plaza, Oswald set up a makeshift sniper's nest and got off 3 shots in 6 seconds, leaving 4 bullets without leaving any nitrate on his cheek, a feat that has never been duplicated, including 1 bullet that managed to cause 7 entry-exit wounds, a feat that has never been duplicated, penetrating 15 inches of tissue, 4 inches of rib, and a radius bone, to come out in almost perfect condition on a stretcher in the hospital while no one was looking, a feat that has never been duplicated. He then ran downstairs and got himself a Coke from the vending machine within seconds of the assassination before heading home, grabbing his things, walking down the street, shooting a police officer, ducking into a movie theater, and waiting to be arrested. After jumping up and pulling his gun on the police officers who swarmed the theater, he was let out the front door, or the back, and taken into police custody. While there, he is not charged with the murder of the president.
Did you kill the president?
No, I've not been charged with that. In fact, nobody has said that to me yet.
And like any self-respecting America-hating communist grandstander who had just killed the President of the United States in a pinko rage, denied he had anything to do with it.
I'm just a patsy.
Before being transferred to county jail, he was shot on live TV by a 2-bit Union Mafia stooge, supposedly torn by grief at the death of the president, whose brother he personally hated, later claiming that it was part of a conspiracy the world will never know.
The world will never know the true facts.
Luckily, the crusading journalist of the unbiased media told the public the straight truth about what happened.
His head could be seen to move violently forward.
Hoover wrote a memo that weekend demanding that the public be convinced that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone assassin. LBJ appointed a commission telling Commissioner Warren that he had to find that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone assassin, and, as luck would have it, that commission concluded,
Now, what about the doctor at Parkland Hospital who reportedly said the president was wounded in the front? Actually, the doctor told the commission, and a newspaper report agrees, that he said only that the bullet could have entered from the front. But because of the president's condition and their desperate haste, the doctors never turned him over, never saw the similar wound where the bullet actually entered from the back.
This is the story of the JFK assassination, as brought to you by the truth tellers in government.
Those weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere.
And the media. And if you have any questions about it, you are a woo-woo, grassy knoll, tinfoil, lizard-fearing America hater. If you love Jesus, sunshine, ponies, monster trucks, miniskirts, and the American flag, you will never ask any questions about any part of this story to anyone. Ever. This message has been brought to you by the CIA, Joint Chiefs of Staff, Warren Commission, and the MSM. Because ignorance is strength.